Hello, everybody, and welcome into our, fifth annual mock draft, I think. I might be wrong, but we're going to be doing a full first round here on Prospect Corner. And we've got an extra guest here that's not from the site, but Anthony, how's it going? And thanks for joining our mock draft here on Prospect Corner. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of the annual event here.
For sure. Yeah, it's always fun to have some new faces on here. And we've got our normal cast of characters here at Dayton Reimer, Peter Baracchini, Justin Gimpetro, and Lucas Bernistevich here. I don't know if you guys all joined. I know Peter and Dayton were here last year for the mock, but yeah, it's a fun times. I know you guys been on mocks throughout the year. This is our full first round, and the Rangers were accommodated us and chose which one they were going to get. And they sent it to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So now the Penguins have back-to-back picks in this mock, and now we are accurate until a team trades something away, and that's probably going to happen. But as of right now, this is the order we're going to go with. So let's get started. And with the first overall pick, Anthony, you've got that one for the New York Islanders. Who is getting picked first overall?
Yeah, I'm glad I got the easy one because there is 2 locks in this class. And I think this is Matthew Schaefer for sure. Darsh said he's not trading the pick today. You know, you're getting an elite left-handed defenseman that could play 20, 25 minutes a night. He showed in the OHL this year that he's incredible offensively, playing 17 games, 22 points. The critics were kind of saying that he needed to show his offensive game more, and that's exactly what he did this year. His pro comps are, Cale Makar as well as Miro Heiskanen. I really like that. I feel like you have to take the slam dunk pick here at 1.
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk about James Hagens, Michael Misa, maybe. I think Matthew Schaefer's the guy, and the Islanders are probably going to go that way unless they, change it on everyone. But we'll see what happens on draft day. But yeah, I think he's probably going to go first overall. All right, Dayton, San Jose Sharks, second overall. Who is getting picked there?
Yeah, speaking of locks, Michael Misa is going to the Sharks second. I can't see anything changing that. He's the best forward available. He's also been compared to, I believe, guys like John Tavares. Plays a really well-rounded, complete game. He's got a devastating shot. This is a potential future all-star. He just looks really good, and maybe the Sharks don't exactly need another center, but you can't have too many centers, and you can move guys around to make things work, and that gives the Sharks basically everything they need for the next several years in building a competitive team again.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at now you got 2 building blocks, Michael Misa and Macklin Celebrini. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch down the middle. Who knows who's going to be the better one? If it's going to be a Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid type thing, who knows? That might happen down the road, but we'll see how the Sharks go with that. I think Michael Misa is second overall too. All right, Peter, this may be where the draft kind of takes a turn. Chicago Blackhawks, third overall. Lots of talk about who's gonna go third. Who are you picking for the Blackhawks at third?
Yeah, this is definitely where the draft is going to get interesting. There's no question about that. With the Hawks, they have a multiple of options. They could either try to address their center position if they feel like, they're not happy with a Bedard-Nazar combo up the middle, then they could easily go with someone like an Anton Frondell. But I just feel like they're still really weak on the right side. They don't have a lot of substance, and you need kind of that top pairing winger to play alongside Connor Bedard and complement him. And I'm going with Parker Martin from the Brampton Steelheads because of the fact that he is a bunch of characteristics and a lot of superlatives into one player. He's an agitator. He's, a net bump presence. He can crash the net for secondary scoring opportunities. He's a really great playmaker. He's got great hands in tight spaces. He's basically the one player that can complement Bedard very, very well on the right side. And let's not forget about the fact that he could get up in someone's grill if someone tries to, get in his face, and he could be like, hey, back off. You're going to have to try and go through me if you want to get to him kind of thing. So this is the kind of player that, kind of molds his game around the Tkachuks. And we know how well Matthew Tkachuk is successful. He's got back-to-back cups. Porter Martone does have that winning mindset. He has some pro experience at the World Hockey Championships, playing with the likes of Marc-Andre Fleury, Sidney Crosby. So he's got a bit of that, progression and a little bit of that mindset of how he could approach the game as a pro player. And I think it's going to help him big time. And I think this is going to benefit the Chicago Blackhawks very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think their wings definitely need maybe a bit of a boost there. I mean, they've got so many great prospects. So Martone going there would make a lot of sense. I think they're definitely – I mean, you mentioned Anton Frondell potentially going there too, but I think Martone's a good pick for the Blackhawks, a point of their rebuild right now for sure. All right, Justin, 4th overall, Utah Mammoth. I know I'm pretty sure you picked for them in the last mock, but who are they picking this time around at 4?
Well, I'm going to change it up, and I think this came to light after the fact, after I made that first pick. They've been linked to Brady Martin, and I don't hate that pick. I actually think that works for them really well. And there's some context to that too. Utah's a new team. They just had their first season, and we saw what happened in Arizona. It just didn't work out. And what better way to make a statement than to take a kind of culture setter, I think Brady Martin can be. He's pretty unique as a prospect, heavy hitter, and he's got really good skill. And he can actually create scoring chances with his hitting, which not many guys do. And I like his upside in transition as well. And he was really good at the end of the year, even in juniors, where he had, I believe, over 110 points per 68 games across his last 20 or so games. He was very productive. And then he had a great U18s. And then his profile starts to rise a bit. I don't think he's a 4th overall talent, but I like that it makes Utah unique and it gives them a splash, and he could really help their team. I don't know if he's a center or a winger at the NHL level. He is a listed center. I think he will be a center, but it's possible he's a winger. Either way, this would be a very bold statement from Utah, which I think they need to make, being a new team and all.
Yeah, I know Braden Martin's been jumping up the draft boards a lot. I mean, we've talked about it with Boston. We talked about it. I mean, I think Philadelphia Flyers as well as being potential. So, I mean, definitely in this range. So I think Utah could maybe take him there for sure at 4. So yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, Lucas, 5th overall pick, the Nashville Predators, pretty high pick, like we said, not really expected when they did all those signings last season, or last offseason. But they do have the 5th overall. Who are they picking here?
Well, Peter stole my pick. So I've been contemplating over the past, I feel like an actual GM because I go, they took my pick at 3. So where do I go from here? Now, there's a saying that I always love in NHL circles that I brought up before, and it's just, pick the best player. But there's also another one that I love where it's wingers can't play center, but centers can eventually play wing. So right now, I only have centers that are available, and I have wingers available, but I feel like it would be a big reach. So I'll stick with my plan and go of the all centers can play wing and go with James Hagens out of Boston College. So the reason why I was targeting a winger, I do think that the Nashville Predators have a really good center core, even in their prospect pool. But you look at their centers, and like Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos are older guys who you could eventually see shifting over to whatever wing makes them most comfortable. And maybe you put Hagens in that center spot, or maybe Hagens is good enough to be an elite winger at the NHL level. This is a guy that at his age group, whether it was at Boston College this last year or in the development program, was just lighting up whatever league he was in. U18s last summer, unfortunately, losing to Canada, but getting the silver medal. He was an absolute beast in that tournament. And then this year, first year of college hockey, played amazing as well, went to the World Juniors and was also incredible. So this is a great prospect for anyone to have. He was even in talks at the beginning of the season to be the first overall pick, and they've unfortunately subsided, but this is still a great player that I think that if anyone can get in the top 5, even if he drops to like 7 in the actual day, someone's got to take this player, because just the upside is just there with this player when it comes to his offensive abilities, what he can do just on the ice. And for your team, I feel comfortable taking James Hagens at 5, even though I wanted a winger. I think that even though he's a center, I think that this is a good pick for the Predators.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the top 5 now. James Hagens potentially, like you say, could potentially go further down, but this top 5 looks pretty good when you're looking at, the top 2 for sure are going to be there. But you're looking at Martin could be in 4 and 5 as well. I mean, you don't know. So we'll see where it all kind of goes. But that's a pretty good indication, I think, of where the top 5 is going to be. All right, Anthony, 6th overall, the Philadelphia Flyers. They're one of those teams that has a lot of picks in the first 2 rounds. So who are they going for with their first one?
Well, there's a lot of players on the board I didn't think there would be. I mean, Anton Frondell, I think, could be locked in at number 3 overall. We saw Cam Robinson's tweet yesterday that said he probably is locked in. I was thinking, Jake O'Brien here, because that's everything I'm hearing. I had Hot Take Hockey on, and he's from Brantford. He actually works there, and he said that there was countless times everybody's heard Jake O'Brien's going to the Flyers. But, they did just trade for Zegras, and Caleb Desnoyers is still on the board. I feel that this pick is going to be Jake O'Brien, but how are you able to just leave Anton Frondell on the board? He is a top 3 pick. So I'm going to take Anton Frondell and throw a wrench into my draft plans, just because, you got to take best player available. I mean, as a GM, if anyone's watching, you see how I processed that. So please send out the request. But I just feel like he is one of the players that you can be versatile with, play him at wing, play him at center. His transition game is going to get a lot better when he goes to the American rink size. In the SHL, it was Victor Eklund that was play driving, but this guy has an absolute cannon for a shot. If you set him up and you get him an office, maybe not a corner office like Ovi had, but like you give him any kind of office, this guy could score 35 goals plus. So I just feel like Frondell would be the pick here. They might play him at 2C for the next 10, 15 years. You got Jet Luchenko in that 3C. I just feel like you take that guy.
Yeah, with Frondell still on the board, I'd say that's a slam dunk when you're looking at his upside. And I mean, it always needs centers. You need at least a 1-2 punch down the middle. Actually, ideally 3. You see the Panthers, they had 3 great centermen. And they're probably going to have those 3 for a long time. And I think that's what you need. And Frondell definitely can fit that with the Flyers, even with Zegras there, for who knows how long he'll be there for. All right, next up, we got Dayton. You're up next with who is up next? Boston Bruins, who, again, another team that probably shouldn't be up this high with how they always make the playoffs. They're always a Stanley Cup contender. Maybe not so much now, but the Bruins getting 7th overall. Who are they picking here?
Yeah, I feel like this is almost a peek into the near future for the Bruins. Like, they've been good for so long, and their prospect pool is thin. They need help everywhere, and getting the 7th pick is almost an unexpected blessing for them. Like, it's going to help them avoid a total rebuild, at least. Partially, right? 1 pick isn't going to change everything, especially in this draft that has been talked about as, it's a weaker class. Still some really, really good players, especially in the top 10. But, you're not maybe going to find as many hidden depth gems as you might in other ones. We'll have to see. I don't think there is much of a debate for the Bruins right now. They do need some defense, but nobody is in, I think, that range right here. So they're just going to go with Caleb Desnoyers. He's the best guy on the board. He's a top center. I really like watching him play. Just a guy who's he's big, he scores, he just makes things happen, right? He was one of the most unstoppable players in the QMJHL. Won at least 2 big prominent awards. Three. Yeah, all of them. He's taking home all the QMJHL awards. He is. You can say maybe that the Q isn't as strong this year. He still showed that he is worth a very high pick, and the Bruins are more likely ecstatic if he falls to 7.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get a really good prospect here no matter who is here. But Desnoyers definitely projects to be a really good top 6 type player in the future. And maybe an all-star, who knows? But yeah, definitely a good pick at 7 for the Bruins. All right, Peter, Seattle Kraken add to their already great prospect pool at 8th overall. Who are they picking here?
So this is kind of like a 2-in-1 where this is kind of the best player available, but also fills a positional need because they got a ton of setters. They already got good defensive depth, and I'm going with Victor Eklund. Kind of surprised that he fell a little bit outside of that top 6, top 7. I thought he would have been in there, but 8th is still a good pickup, especially for the Seattle Kraken right now, because they could use some help on the left side. You already do have Carson Rakoff in the system, great shooter, pinpoint accuracy. He's tore up the OHL, but they need that kind of player that's kind of a very strong energizer bunny that shows no quit to his game, and Victor Eklund does just that. As Anthony mentioned before, Eklund is the kind of player that kind of drives a lot of play, especially for a lot of those international teams for Sweden, where he's doing a lot of the heavy work, and Frondell does that too, but you're noticing Eklund more so often every time and every shift when he's on the ice because of how dynamic he is. He's skilled. He may be on the smaller side, but he wins battles. He's got the inside positioning and track every single time, and he's got quick edges. He's very agile transition. This is a guy that utilizes the whole entire ice, and I think this is going to benefit the Seattle Kraken greatly by adding him in and filling out the left side.
Yeah, and I already said their prospect pool is pretty deep already, and adding a talent like Eklund to whoever they have is going to be great. And I think Eklund would really fit in the team that they're building, and yeah, a good pick there. All right, Justin, with the Buffalo Sabres, this pick is widely, I guess, thinking that it's going to be traded, but with this mock draft, they still have it. We're not doing trades here. That would make it really chaotic. So 9th overall, Buffalo Sabres. Who would they pick if they do keep this one?
The only thing more chaotic than trading the 9th overall pick, to me, is taking Roger McQueen. And I think that is the perfect pick for Buffalo. You talk about a guy who is huge and who has a ton of skill to complement it. There is a lot of upside here. And again, you don't get 6'6" centers who are this talented and this skilled basically ever, other than Tage Thompson, ironically. And I think that would be a great pick for Buffalo. You talk about making a splash for a team that needs to make a splash. They haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. You have to do something kind of unique. I think Jake O'Brien is probably the best player available, but I love McQueen's upside. And yes, obviously the injury, but he says he's healthy. And there was this whole thing where it was misdiagnosed, he says, and it dated back 2 years ago. So he hasn't been healthy to his account in a long time. And since his D-1 before it even began. So if you're going to bet on the upside, take Roger McQueen. And I think Buffalo would be the best team to do that because they already have a lot of great prospects. And you want to make a statement with McQueen. I think Buffalo's, again, perfect team to do that.
Yeah, McQueen, we've talked about him falling and stuff like that, but I think maybe a team like the Sabres would take him here if they do obviously keep the pick. But yeah, McQueen's he's the wild card of this draft, or one of them, that we're kind of seeing where he's going to go. And right now it's kind of up in the air, but we'll see when that happens in the draft. All right, Lucas, Anaheim Ducks at 10th overall. Joshua Jackson is going to be the one kind of picking this at the real draft, but do your best impression of him. Anaheim Ducks, 10th overall.
Well, I sadly cannot do an impression of Mr. Jackson, but a theme is arose within this mock draft, and that's my players getting taken very shortly before I'm about to pick. So again, I had to pivot and feel like a real general manager. I wanted to go with Roger McQueen because I feel like Anaheim needs more wingers. But I'll pivot positions, and I'll go with Radim Mrtka from the Seattle Thunderbirds, the WHL. They went defense last year with Steven Solberg. Awesome pick, awesome player. But I'm noticing a lot of left shots, and we all know how in the NHL right shot defenseman is just it's a needed commodity, a wanted commodity. Just for some reason, just that right-handed shot is a big need in the NHL. And Mrtka has that, and he's how tall? Oh, 6'6". So that helps too. So getting Radim Mrtka, I think, is a good option for the Ducks. They have a lot of offensive prospects, some good defensive prospects, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy because all of their prospects have now graduated to the main roster. So restocking the cabinet on the defensive prospects, I think, is a good option. And a good choice for the Ducks, and I think that Radim Mrtka fits that mold for that the Ducks would want to look for.
All right, so we got our top 10, and there are 2 defensemen in the top 10, only 2 defensemen. The rest of them forwards. So lots of great D-men still on the board after the 10th overall pick, and this 10, I mean, could potentially be the 10 on draft day, but right now we'll see how it goes as we keep going through the draft here. With the Pittsburgh Penguins coming up next, back-to-back picks, but 2 different people are going to be doing the picks here. Anthony, you've got the first one. This is their original pick, 11th overall.
I'm extremely excited to pick here. One thing I'll say about Mrtka, he was going to be my pick here because I'm glad he was selected in the top 10 because there's been 2 defensemen selected in the top 10 since 2010, which is 15 years ago, which makes me feel old. But I'm going Jake O'Brien here. He's staying in the exact same jerseys. He grew up a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I just love this fit so much. This guy's 6'2", incredible vision, right-handed center. I think that this fills a need as well. You have the number 12 overall pick too. You take best player available, whoever that is. This guy was the best player in Brantford, and he was next to Nick Lardis, who scored 72 goals. And they didn't even play on the same line, but he was a power play specialist. And it's not like he is a power play merchant. That's just a skill that he has. It's something that he's going to bring to any team that he goes. He has incredible upside. The offensive ability, you can see it. There's a lot of rawness to his game, but the thing is, like, he's still point productive. I think he scored 98 points in 66 games in the OHL. Incredible point production for a guy that a lot of people say is raw. There's a reason why this guy is going to be coveted, and I think he will be taken to the Flyers at 6. But since I'm here at 11, I'm so glad I got this pick because the Penguins fans are going to be ecstatic here. And he's also going to be happy because he grew up watching Sidney Crosby and a Penguins fan. So it's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, he could, again, be a guy that goes in the top 10. But, falls to 11 here, just outside the top 10. We'll see. Now, Dayton, you've got the 12th overall pick. Also, the Pittsburgh Penguins pick. Used to be the New York Rangers up until, today, as we're recording. So who do the Penguins get to pick for their second pick of this draft?
Yeah, the draft really opens up right here. They can go a lot of different ways. They have I think a bit of a gap on the right side of their defense. And so Mrtka would have been a nice addition, especially at least for what they're looking for. They can use, I think, more forward help. Their prospect pool, again, is on the shallower side. So I think with that, I do feel a little bit like Lucas having to pivot with what do we go with here. I think I'll just keep it simple. I'll go with one of my favorites. I think Lyndon Lakovic will be a fantastic addition. That might be a reach for some people. I don't care. Legovic is one of my favorite prospects coming in. I think he's brilliant. He is an underrated tactician on the forward. He is a great playmaker. He uses his size really smartly to protect the puck and create offensive chances. He isn't as physical as he could be. Yes, he could add some strength. I think you can say that about almost every prospect of this draft, minus maybe Kahan Herson. Throw him in the NHL. I think he'll be okay. Everyone else, you need to add strength. That's a common thing. But every time I've watched Legovic, he's the most noticeable player on the ice. He commands the offense. He commands what's ever going on. And I think he's got a really solid defensive game as well. Lots of really great foundations. And the Pittsburgh Penguins like drafting out of the WHL. They've noticed this kid. He played on the team that Brendan Yeager used to play for. So, yeah, they're well aware that this kid has some talent, I'm sure. And 12th overall, I think that's a great place for him.
Yeah, and I mean, they definitely need anyone. I mean, their prospect pool is not the strongest. It got maybe a little stronger with a couple trades that they've made, but and they could be trading one of these picks to move up in the draft. And there's some talk about maybe trying to get James Hagens up at 6, maybe. I don't know, but we'll see. One of those maybe get traded. But yeah, these two guys, if they do keep both the 11th and 12th overall picks, these two, I mean, those great prospects to bolster their pool for sure. All right, Peter, Detroit Red Wings, 13th overall. Again, they've got a pretty strong prospect pool, and they add yet another top 15 pick in this draft. So who are they going with at 13?
Yeah, and there are a lot of mocks out there that are like kind of leaning the same way, and it just kind of fits the bill for where the Detroit Red Wings want to go, and that's Carter Bear. And it just seems like a really, really good fit for the organization as a whole because it could use a little bit more offense up front. They already got enough demon on the back end, especially with Axel Sandin Pellikka, Simon Edvinsson, Moritz Seider. They're all set for the future. That's like half of their top D unit right there for the foreseeable future. They need a little bit of help, but especially on the left side too, they're very weak. But he did kind of fall for me because of that Achilles injury. That to me was a little bit serious, but up until then, he was an offensive dynamo in the WHL. He was one of the more productive draft eligible players coming out of that league. And the skill set shows it, the intensity, the drive, the ability to attack the middle of the ice constantly and have defenders on their heels constantly. He has that work ethic and drive, and that's what really sets him above or puts him a cut above some of the other players in this draft as well. I mean, average size and height, but we can overlook that. But the skill that he brings, the ability to create offense and be an offensive driver really stands out. And I think the Detroit Red Wings really do need that.
Yeah, again, they're going to be strengthening what they already have. And they've just got so much guys. And eventually all these prospects will make it to the NHL and push them into a playoff spot more regularly. But yeah, that's a good pick for the Red Wings at 13. All right, Justin, up next, Columbus Blue Jackets. This is their first pick of this draft. And again, another strong prospect pool. A lot of these teams do because they're all kind of, not all of them, but a lot of them are rebuilders. So who are the Blue Jackets picking at 14?
I'm a little rattled because my back-to-back picks were taken. I had Lakovic. That was the guy I was going to go with. And then I was like, oh, yeah, Carter Bear. And then both of them get taken. I'm going to go best player available to me and take Jackson Smith here. And I know Columbus is pretty strong defensively, and that kind of opened up their ability to trade Juracek recently. But Jackson Smith, I love his upside. Very talented. There are some IQ concerns there. I'm not as worried about it, but I do recognize that exists. But to me, you're getting a two-way puck mover, a guy who can really play well defensively, and a guy who skates incredibly well just in general, but especially for a guy who's 6'4", I believe 200 pounds he weighed in at the Combine. I've mentioned it a few times that you don't get a lot of players like this. I think this is another one where you don't get a lot of players like this. And I think Columbus would be happy to add somebody to their blue line, because even though he's a left shot and they have Werenski and they are very strong there, but you always want to take best player available, especially when you're a little bit later in that draft. And to me, he's arguably in that top 10 prospect type of range. I think a lot of teams may want to trade up for this guy. Maybe you'll use him as leverage down the line. Who really knows? But I like his upside as a potential number 3 defenseman, maybe even number 2, if he really reaches the ceiling.
Yeah, that's a good pick for the Blue Jackets. I mean, their defense, I talked about they're having a log jam on defense. Not as big of a log jam anymore. I know they've traded a couple guys, but he would be, especially if he's still available at 14. That's someone they definitely be looking at. All right, Lucas, Vancouver Canucks. I think this is the first time you've actually picked for a team that you write about. So who are the Canucks going with at 15?
Well, with Matthew being here, I do feel a little bit of the pressure, and and I'll try to pick the right one. But I look at the Canucks, and I do write about them. I look at the Canucks, and I like their defensive prospect pool. But on the forward core, outside of Lekaramaki, who I don't even really see as a prospect anymore, because I feel like he'll be a full-time NHLer next season. He and the entire Abbotsford Canucks just won the Calder Cup, which I know is a huge deal, and congrats to all of them. But on the forward core, I'm not seeing a lot of future elite players other than Lekaramaki, who I said I think is a full-time NHLer next year. So I, as Patrick Allvin, I'm swinging for the fences. Might be a bit of a reach. I'm sorry, Dayton. I'm going Braeden Cootes of the Seattle Thunderbirds. And I know, Dayton, I know that's your guy, but I'm going Braeden Cootes. And the reason why it might be a slight reach, I watched this guy play at the U18 development camp just down the road here in Oakville. I was floored by the stuff that this guy was doing. He was playing, funny enough, he was playing with Lev Katzen. They were just doing shoot around together, and these two looked like they had played together for years because of Katzen's finishing ability, and also because of Braden's vision and his ability to just find players. I was so impressed by what I saw from him. I don't get to see a lot of Seattle Thunderbirds games because I'm here in Ontario, but just watching him play up close, I was mesmerized by what this guy could do with the puck. Might be a bit of a reach. He might be a 20s guy, but I think I'd love to see Patrick Allvin and the Canucks take a bit of a swing. Maybe pick him a little higher than he's supposed to, because I think this is a perfect option for the Canucks to take here at 15.
Love it. That's exactly the guy I'd go with at 15. I wrote an article about target for the Canucks, and he really reminds me of Bo Horvat a lot. And the Canucks, of course, traded him away. I think they should have kept him, but Cootes could be the next Bo Horvat type player. So I really love it. If the Canucks don't end up trading this pick, which seems like there's rumors about that happening, if they do keep it and Cootes is still on the board, definitely would be a great pick for the Canucks right here. Okay, Montreal Canadiens. Anthony, 16th overall. This is, of course, back-to-back picks as well. They also got the 17th pick. So who are they going with their first one?
Yeah, I think they run to their cell phones to call and select Justin Carbonneau here. He was very productive in the queue, 89 points this year. You could just see that shot. He could shoot from literally anywhere, any angle. This guy probably is the best shot in the entire draft. I think we were talking about him earlier before we got on. This would be the perfect Habs selection. I think that he slots into their top 6, in my opinion. I think that he is just a player that, in my opinion, this is a draft where it's a little heavier at the first round, but in my opinion, there's a lot of depth here. So you're getting a really good player at 16. This guy could go 10 or even 20, but I see him in this range. He's probably going to go to Boston, play next to James Hagens. There's nothing confirmed. They just traded 3 firsts for Bill Zonnon over there, but I really do feel like if he played the Ryan Leonard role, he could score 20 plus goals. This guy is just he has the size at almost 200 pounds at 6'1". He's not as physical, but you could see the passion when you go to watch this guy play. He's harder on his teammates because it's more like a Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan-esque person. It's not like he's a diva or anything like that. This guy just has a level of play that he wants to play at, as well as his hockey IQ is just so high. He wants to play with players that have higher hockey IQ. That's why they went out and got Bill Zonnon, who's one of the best, smartest, and strategic players in the entire draft. I call him like an owl because he doesn't make a movement unless he has to. I think Carbonneau is going to be a really good fit here, and I would not be surprised if he was one of the 2 first-round picks for the Habs. And they have 7 first-round picks in the first 82, so they can take a swing.
Yeah, another team that has a lot of picks in the first 2 rounds for sure. Yeah, and I don't know if they're thinking of trading any of these. I think they're probably going to keep their high picks. I mean, they're still a rebuilding team, even though they made the playoffs last season. I think they're still one that is going to be building these picks for sure. All right, well, that's our halfway point of our first round here, and lots of great names still available as we get into the second half. I mean, you're looking at 3 defensemen now have been picked, and lots of centermen off the board, but lots of great talent here to come. So Dayton, let's kick the second half of the draft off with the Montreal Canadiens again at 17th overall. Who are you picking for their second pick?
I think that with as many picks as they do have, as Anthony mentioned, they're going to take some risks because why not? They have the capital to do so. And so I just go with the best guy on the board and not think too much about it. And that's Kahan Herson for me. He's honestly, I'm a little surprised he's fallen this far. I had him in my own list. I had him quite a bit higher. But he is arguably one of the most impactful players in this draft class, especially at the top. He throws his weight around, loves to hit guys, and he was talking about that at the Combine. He's got the nickname Mr. Clutch because he can just score when exactly his team needs it. Led the all-OHL defenseman in game-winning goals, which is one more than Sam Dickinson, who went 11th last year. He is a very intriguing package. Probably not a top-pairing guy, but definitely a second-pairing defenseman in the NHL, if not a third. He's going to add so much like grit and depth to your lineup. And with David Savard retiring, they have a bit of a hole on that side, right? I know he was a right shot and Aitchison's a left, but you add someone like that to your team. They have gone with Caden Gooley before with a very high pick. This seems like a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, their defense, again, this is another team that has strength all throughout their prospect pool. So their defense is not like a big need, but when you see a guy like Aitchison still on the board, yeah, I think you take him. He's adds something I think that maybe the Canadiens don't have in their pool. And I know there's been talk about maybe adding a bit more toughness down the line, and he definitely brings that. Aitchison, he's going to be. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be still here at 17. That's pretty crazy for him to be there. All right, Peter, another Canadian team, Calgary Flames at 18th overall. Maybe not as high as they're kind of used to because they were pretty close to the playoffs this year. So 18th, their first. They don't have 2 first-round picks as well. This is their first one. Who are they going with?
This is really tough for me because I have 3 directions I want to go. Do I go really crazy? Do I go with my favorite pick? Or do I go with a recommendation for one of our inside gurus, Mark Shag, over at the Hockey Writers? So I'm going to leave it to the floor to you guys and see which direction I'll go down. Or I'll just pick myself. I will. See, this is really tough. You know what? I'm going to put my personal bias aside, even though I really like this player so much. I'm going to go crazy, and I'm going to go with Cullen Potter for the Calgary Flames. Going to go a little crazy over here. I understand that, but this is a guy that drives play very well. He's moving up draft boards constantly, and he moved up for me as well. 22 on my list, but I'm seeing... there could be a possibility that a team does take him inside the top 20. I know he's 5'10", but he kind of reminds me of another 5'10" that Calgary drafted a few years back in Matt Coronado. And Potter has the speed, the agility. Again, don't pay attention to the stats this year because he was the best player on a not so strong team, and he was constantly driving play every single chance he got. And you know how the Calgary Flames are starting to change their direction and mindset of how they want to play, Potter's definitely going to be that guy, especially on the wing with his speed and his agility and ability to cut to the inside quickly, keep defenders on their heels, second guessing, all that. I think Potter is definitely going to be one of those surprise picks. And I may regret this because I could have gone with my favorite guy, but I'm going to go crazy with Cullen Potter.
Yeah, great speed. Like we named him the best skater in our superlatives episode. So, he would definitely add a lot of skill and speed to the Flames, and they're another team that maybe needs some of that in their pool. Not the strongest one, but Potter would maybe an interesting pick around here. So definitely one to look out for. All right, Justin, St. Louis Blues at 19th overall. And again, another team that maybe is a lower pick than they're used to because they are really close to the playoffs too. So 19th, who are they going with?
I didn't want to interject with Peter's pick because I am pretty excited about this player. I've never really considered him in this area. I think he's going lower probably. However, I think Cameron Reid is a very interesting prospect, and specifically for the Blues. You saw what Cam Fowler did for them this year. Even though Cameron Reid, he's pretty small and he's not physical, and that's kind of worrisome for a defenseman that causes them to fall. Cam Fowler was an awesome puck mover for St. Louis, and without him, they don't go to the playoffs and they don't force Game 7 against the Jets. I think they see value in that, and Cameron Reid, amazing skater. I think he's got two-way upside. He can move the puck. He can do some great things offensively, and he put up really good point totals this year in the OHL. I believe he was top 3 on the Kitchener Rangers, and he was one of the most productive defensemen in the league this year. But I also like his defensive upside, and though he's not physical, and I don't think he will be at the next level, wherever that may be, I like his defensive upside. I think he's got a good stick. I think he does some good things. I think he's pretty intelligent as well. I like the package here, and I like St. Louis specifically to take a chance on this. They're a team that values their defense, and they could use more of these defensive prospects. And maybe a bit of a shocker at this range, more so 20s I've been seeing him. But yeah, I like this pick for St. Louis.
Yeah, it's a good point about Fowler. He really changed that defense, and they do need some more puck movers in the system too. So it could be an interesting guy that they go with around this point for sure. All right, Lucas, 20th overall, Columbus Blue Jackets. This is their second first-round pick of this draft. So who are they going with at 20?
So when Justin said, okay, I got my guy here, and he announced his pick, I was thinking of someone else, which is the player I'm going to take. So when people watch this back, they're going to see my reaction, because when I found out that Justin didn't pick Cole Reschny, I was very, very, very surprised, and I will now take him for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I thought this guy was going to go maybe 4 picks before. I think he fits in perfectly in Columbus. They need more forwards. They got some good defensive help, but they need like a pure goal scorer, a pure just point scorer in their system for the future. Adam Fantilli is a great player, and so are some of the other players, but they need sort of like a wingmate, and Cole Reschny is perfect to just be a wingmate to someone who's a setup guy. Just put the puck in the net. That's what he does, and I think he fits it perfect for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I like that pick for the Blue Jackets too. I think they're definitely a guy that fits a lot of what they have already, and would really maybe fit into a future core of Blue Jackets too. So I like that pick at 20. All right, moving to the Ottawa Senators. Anthony, who are you going with for the Senators? Again, another team that usually gets higher picks, but this one, because they made the playoffs, so 21.
Well, they kept this pick, and they could have actually kept their 2026, which is probably a stronger draft, because they have to eliminate one of them unless the NHL revokes that punishment towards them for that one thing that they had done. But Malcolm Spence here is going to be my pick. He's going to Michigan. I really like this guy. He played absolutely incredible in the playoffs this year without Matthew Schaefer. One of his teammates, Martin Misiak, a Blackhawks prospect, also played incredible during that time. I asked him why he is always better in those clutch moments and his in the playoffs. And he's like, the intensity he brings, he's always 100. He's always like very focused engagement level. And that's one of the things that we're worried about with a couple of these prospects in this range. So what Malcolm Spence brings with that 6'2", 200-pound size, I think is a lot safer to be a projectable third line player. And I think that's his floor. He could absolutely be a top, a middle six player, go onto that second line. Him going with Hage to Michigan, I think is going to be fantastic. They're actually really good friends. He practices all the time with Matthew Schaefer. His roommate was Michael Misa for a very long time, as well as Matthew Schaefer. He actually spoiled that the Sharks that Michael Misa wants to go to the Sharks at the Combine. He's just a really good dude. I got to talk to him a lot over the course of the season. He brings this aura and vibe to him that you kind of believe that he will be a star. Maybe it's not like a traditional superstar or star, but he's going to be a star on his team. He's going to be a fan favorite. The personality is there. So I just really like Malcolm Spence here. And if you got to take a swing at this point, best player available. So I really like it.
Yeah, he was named, Mark named him the steal of the draft. So, I mean, that could potentially be 21st overall. Lots of, I could definitely see him going to the Senators. I don't know. I mean, Dayton, of course, covers the Senators. Maybe before we get the next pick, I get our thoughts on him. But 21st, and we're now 21 picks into the first round, and lots of great names still up. So Dayton, let's go to the Philadelphia Flyers. This is their second first round pick, second of 3. I don't know if they're going to be trading one of these, but 22. Who are the Flyers going with?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. a lot of my guys were taken already. I was thinking Spence would be a really good fit for the Flyers here, but with that player off the board, I think I'm going to go with Benjamin Kindel. He is a great scoring player. He had a ton of points with the Calgary Hitmen. He is a very good skater as well. I think he's got really good movement. He maybe didn't jump out at the playoffs as much as he could have, which is why you see a nearly 100-point player drop outside of the top 20. But yeah, I think with the Flyers kind of looking, and Justin, I guess you can critique me on this, but I think the Flyers can use a little bit of support in everything. I think forward help is probably the most beneficial for them at this time. And with the guys left on the board, I think Kindel is the best bet.
Yeah, so Anton Frondell, Benjamin Kindel are the two guys that they've gone for so far. Pretty good haul for their 2 first rounders. So right now. So yeah, I think, again, another team that probably needs some help. I don't know too bad because they do have a pretty strong prospect pool, but yeah, adding these types of guys definitely helps them out. All right, Peter, Nashville Predators. Again, so many teams have multiple first-round picks in this draft, and the Predators are another one. So who are they going with at 23?
So just for reference sake, if I didn't take Potter, I would have taken Malcolm Spence with Calgary because of Mark Shags being the steal of the draft and my guy being Bill Zonnon. So with him still on the board with the Nashville Predators, I feel like he would be a great complementary piece to James Hagens, and the Nashville Predators should take Bill Zonnon. Again, I've been an absolutely big fan of his throughout the whole entire year. And Anthony alluded to his play with Carbonneau before. Just absolutely dynamic, absolutely intense. He has this mindset that whenever he has the puck, he's always aggressively attacking the middle of the ice, attacking defenders, getting them on their heels. He's always crashing the net. He can do it all. He's got a bullet of a shot from a point. He can hurt you from mid-range in front of the net. He does it all. He's got great passing abilities as well. He's basically a player that could do it all in the offensive zone, and his defensive game is just as strong. He's very physical. He can come back, help out on the back check, take the body, take away lanes. This is a player that's very, very special, and I've become a big fan of his. I keep on saying on this show that there's not enough love for Bill Zonnon, and hopefully now there's going to be more love for Bill Zonnon.
I think he's a first-round pick. I just don't know where he's going to go. I think he probably will be going around this area, and whoever's getting him potentially could be a playoff team. Of course, Nashville's not, but definitely somewhere that they'll look at this point of the draft. Because again, I mean, I don't know if they really need a ton of prospects, but I mean, they're not the strongest pool either. So I think anything was for sure be good. All right, LA Kings at 24th. We're getting a new team here because we keep going through the same types of teams. The Kings at 24th overall. Justin, who are they going with?
You know, I wasn't expecting so many of my picks to get taken right before I picked them, especially in this range. So I'm scrambling a bit, but I settled on, and this is a guy that I think I've been high on, and I've said it before, but Jack Murtagh, I think, is an interesting middle six upside type of guy, in my opinion. He works hard, and teams will love that. He's got good skill. I think the upside is really good there. He was one of the NTDP's best players this year. It's kind of a weaker class for that this year as opposed to what we've seen recently in my eyes, but it's a great player, and I think he kind of matches what the Kings do and what they need, which is more forwards. There are some good defensemen in this range, but they almost have too many defensemen right now to the point where they were playing 7 guys and Brent Clark was getting healthy scratched. Mm-hmm. It's a whole thing. So I don't think they're taking D. They may, but I'm leaning with a hardworking forward, and Murtagh is a pretty decent piece, I think, for them.
Yeah, another team that I think needs a bit of, I don't know about, I think forward is probably where they're going to be looking in the draft. Their defense, they've got some good young guys up there. I think definitely going forward, and Murtagh could be an interesting pick for them for sure. All right, I said new team. Now we're back to another team that has another first round pick. That's the Chicago Blackhawks, but they picked quite a while ago now. So 25th overall, Lucas, who are the Blackhawks going with here?
Well, fellas, there's always that one pick that's the explosion of the draft. I think I got it. I think I'm going to be the one to do it. We're going Joshua Ravensbergen, goaltender of the Prince George Cougars for the Chicago Blackhawks. Here's why I'm confident in this pick. Because, okay, so they make the trade for Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight's got 1 year left, but he's going to be an RFA, so they'll still at least retain his rights. You got Arvid Soderblom they got to resign. Adam Guyan's in the NCAA. They have some goaltenders, but there's something about those 3 players. I'm just not super confident about those players if Chicago was looking to take the next step. I'm just not super confident. I could be wrong, and I hope I am, but I'm just not super confident. So I feel that the Blackhawks need to take a swing at goaltender here, because players like Ravensbergen and Ivanjkovic, who will go in the second round, they don't come up every draft. When was the last time we had 2 goaltenders that were seen as potential starting NHL goaltenders to come out of Canada, first off, but that were seen as these guys are going to be potential studs in the NHL? It hasn't, not recently. So I feel confident that for the Blackhawks, because they have such capital, they can take a swing here. They can take a swing, and goaltenders take 4 or 5 years to develop. So it's not like they're really throwing a wrench in their plans by drafting a goaltender in the first round. But I have so much confidence in Ravensbergen because this guy played 51 games in the WHL. That doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen, and it does, and it doesn't happen. And he was even able to maintain an above 900 save percentage. He was one of Canada's 2 goalies, along with Ivanjkovic at the CHL NTDP prospects game, and I feel really confident in this goalie, and I think that the Blackhawks taking this swing would be a good option for them.
So we got our first goalie off the board now, and Ravensbergen could be a potential guy that would maybe go around this area, because one thing about him is he has been talked about in the first round. I think one of the only goalies that's been really talked about at this point. So he could definitely be a guy that goes to the Blackhawks, because, like you said, I'm getting Spencer Knight definitely helps in the present, but how long he's still relatively young. But beyond him, I think they've got some okay goaltenders, but adding a guy like Ravensbergen definitely would add a lot. So I do like that pick for the Blackhawks at this point of the draft, especially with their second first round pick. All right, another old team here that we've talked about already in this first round. That's the Nashville Predators again. So let's go back to Anthony here. So Nashville Predators, 26th overall.
Well, I've heard a lot that the Nashville Predators are going to select a goalie, and I was probably going to take Ravensbergen, 6'5" WHL, incredible season. But I'm going to go Jack Ivanjkovic, who's actually my number one goalie on the entire board. His pro comp for himself is UC Saros, and he also modeled his game after Jake Ottinger, and he also watched Dustin Wolf have a really good season. You know, his dad is actually 6'5", and he was a former goalie, and he had a growth spurt when he was in his 20s. So Jack Ivanjkovic is actually still growing. Obviously, you can't draft him based on him growing more. But if you see this guy, he actually is built to grow, in my opinion. And the thing about it is he didn't grow this year. But if he has one last growth spurt and this guy's 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", you're already getting a starting caliber goalie because he's cool, calm, and collective in net. He obviously won gold with Canada against that Sweden Avengers team. If you saw what their roster was, they brought everybody out. Everybody came out of the woodwork there. So I think Jack is going to be slated to go near here. And also I'm hearing Frolov is going to be kind of going near the first 40 picks. So could he go here? I just feel like Nashville would target a goalie, and I really wanted Ravensbergen to fall here. But obviously my Blackhawks picked him up, so I'm not sad about it. He's a great skater too. Helped him with his edge work, so I really like him. But I think Jack is going to be a 1A goalie, in my opinion. Obviously, then goalies don't start 50, 60 games anymore, so you need a 1A, 1B. I feel like Jack is going to make the NHL. He has that floor.
I like that too. So back-to-back goalies going here in the first round. And Ivanjkovic has been very impressive. He's really increased his stock since, playing for Team Canada has been really good. So definitely a guy that maybe could sneak into the first round. And the Predators they do need goaltending. Yeah, UC Saros is there right now, but they did trade Askarov, and they're beyond that. I don't know if they really have any really solid goaltending prospects now in the system. So definitely could be a need going.
And one last thing on Jack. Actually, Matthew Schaefer said he was the hardest player he ever had to play against. He shut him out at the teddy bear toss, so they had to throw the teddy bears at the 2-minute mark because there was no goals. So this guy he's legit. Even the number one overall pick sees it. So
there you go. Yeah, I've liked him too since Canada there. I think he really got on the map. Was the under 18s, right? Or was it the Hlinka Gretzky? One of those. But yeah, definitely a guy to watch out for in the first round. All right, Dayton, 27th overall, the Washington Capitals. And they're interesting wherever they go, wherever they pick. They seem to be able to get some steals. Andrew Cristall, of course, wasn't a first-round pick. He should have been. But they got him in the second round. And we'll see if they can maybe snag a potential steal here, 27th overall. So who are the Capitals going with?
Yeah. We have talked on this podcast before about how much we like so many of their picks. They keep finding... They don't really find hidden gems because we all know that they're going to be great. They just grab the guys who are falling. Like Andrew Cristall should have been a first. Cole Hudson, I think he should have been a first. Late first, but definitely a first. Tariq Parasik, he fell further. I think he was a first pick, but yeah, he fell quite a bit. A lot of really good players are joining the Capital system with their very smart draft picks. Now, I do look at their depth chart, and their defense is not great. Aside from Hudson, they don't really have anybody jumping out. Leon Mugley, Ryan Chesley, those guys are pretty solid as well. But it's a thinner crop. So I think they go with defensemen here. There's two guys that I'm kind of tossing around. And I think they probably go with somebody who could complement Hudson, and that is Cole Hensler. Logan Hensler. My goodness. Yeah. Screwing up all the names. I got the last name right. That's all we need. Hensler is a very solid, reliable defenseman. He's not a puck carrier. He's not a rush defender. He's got good mobility. He's a reliable defensive defenseman who will make sure that things don't go awry. And he did that pretty well with the University of Wisconsin this season. And I think pairing him with someone like Hudson, who is a left shot, Hensler being a right, that could work really well. Allow Hudson to, really activate and play his more offensive game. Protas too. He's also fantastic. Too many guys that they get that are falling too far. A few other, I thought Sasha Boumedienne would also be a good place for this, but I'm going to go with the defensive guy with Hensler.
I like Hensler. I did his prospect profile. I think he's a really good two-way type defenseman. I think he was actually projected to be a lot higher at the beginning of the year, but kind of maybe fell down a bit and probably will be drafted around here. It might potentially be a bit of a steal, so we'll see if the Capitals get another guy that probably shouldn't be here. But they seem to be able to get those types of players. All right, Winnipeg Jets, 28th overall. Peter, who are they going with here? I mean, they've got a pretty solid prospect pool for a team that always seems to make the playoffs and be a really good team. So who are they going with at 28?
Yeah, they could go in many directions here, but I feel like this player fits the bill of what the Winnipeg Jets play, or fits their play style, especially on the back end, and that's Blake Fiddler. I really like the competitive nature that he brings. I love the physical defensive shutdown style that he has. He's definitely going to be in that 4 to 6 range for a team. Obviously, if they're looking for a little bit more upside, they could go with Sasha Boumedienne, but I feel like he's the kind of player that's going to lead by example. He'll do whatever it takes to win, and he does have a little bit of offensive upside. We've seen at certain points, especially at the Haleka Gretzky too, where he does have that ability to jump into the rush, have that speed and attack, and go in and beat defenders. So he does have a little bit of upside, but the defensive game is strong. He's very physical. He's great in one-on-one coverage, and I think he's going to be one of those tough guys to go up against, especially in the defensive zone where he can effectively shut things down very well, and that just fits the Winnipeg Jets moniker on the back end.
Yeah, he definitely, I agree. I think he fits what the Jets seem to, their style, and I could see him going at this point at 28. So good pick. All right, Justin, 29th overall, Carolina Hurricanes. They seem to pick certain types of players in the draft and always seem to hit on them too. So maybe not the first round, but around here and second round beyond, they seem to be able to hit on some really good players, Seth Jarvis being one of them. And he was a first round pick and probably shouldn't have been where he got drafted later on. So Carolina Hurricanes at 29.
That was actually my exact mindset. Who is the guy that the Carolina Hurricanes would pick? To me, and I'm not the first one to say this, but I think Alexander Zurovsky is the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, that would be that's kind of their thing. That's kind of the guy who they take. He's pretty raw, but I love the upside. I think he is one of the very few, if not the only guy with top 6 potential in my eyes that's left on this board. 6'1", pretty small in terms of weight, has some filling out to do, but I think he's arguably the best winger available. I think he's arguably a first round player, even though he's kind of being mocked in that second round. That may be where he goes, but I love the skill here. And if a team late in the first round also likes the skill, they're going to take a gamble on a guy who's kind of everywhere in terms of rankings. And yeah, I like this player, and I think there's some uncertainty, I guess. There's not a lot of guys who come out of Russian juniors. Zorovsky is one, and hard to project, I guess. He led all draft year prospects, 17-year-olds in points in that league in the MHL. He was pretty productive. He had similar production to Yegor Surin, who Nashville took, I believe, 22nd last year. Kind of went higher than I expected. Similar production, so I think this is a reasonable spot for Zorovsky.
That's a Carolina Hurricane. I do agree. They seem to hit on these Russian players too lately, and yeah, and he's been the highest that ranking has him is 21st, and that's by Smart Scouting. Rest them around the 30s, so early second round. So yeah, it just depends on where the Hurricanes see him, and I think they could see something in him for 29. And yeah, I do like that pick for the Hurricanes for sure. All right, Lucas, 30th overall, San Jose Sharks. This is their second first-round pick in this draft. They, of course, picked second overall. So who are they going at 30?
I am so excited to make this selection because this is one of my favorite players in the draft, and I know that Matthew loves this player too. And because it's the San Jose Sharks, I think they're willing to take risks. You already got Misa, and we're going Cameron Schmidt, Vancouver Giants, WHL, baby. So I understand he's 5'7". I understand at the NHL level he could get completely, obliterated. But you cannot throw that that shot out the window, because that shot that he has is already NHL caliber. In fact, it might even be a top 100 shot in the league. It is pinpoint accuracy up the wing. He is going top shelf every single time. I understand that he's small, but just that offensive mindset and that offensive capability, that goal scoring ability, you cannot pass that up, especially this late in the first round. I understand you might be able to get him in the second round, but I'm so confident in this player that he could overcome this adversity of his height and make it into the NHL and play on the San Jose Sharks that already have a great forward prospect pool. I really, really like this player. I've liked him this entire year, and I hope he sneaks in the first round like he does in this one.
I love Cameron Schmidt. You definitely hit that. I would have liked the Canucks to pick him. I think 15 is a little high. So I wouldn't go with him where the Canucks are, but definitely if he goes into the second round, because the Canucks do have a second round pick. But I want him to be a first round pick. I said Logan Stankoven should have been a first round pick. He wasn't. And Cameron Schmidt definitely has the skill to be that too. And a late first rounder, Sharks taking a swing. I could see them doing that for sure. All right, Anthony, last pick of this first round for you, 31st overall. This is the Philadelphia Flyers' third first-round pick. And they've got two good players already. Who are they going at 31?
I was going to take Cam Schmidt because, even he's very high on my board, and even Craig Button had him at number 8 overall because of the skill. I think he's a top 10 pick or top 10 pick if he was like 6'2", 6'3". Obviously, that's it's a lot of more inches, but just the skill is there. So I'm going to go with the exact opposite and go a player that's 6'6", Václav Nestrasil. This guy just has incredible upside. I love him. I think that he would be a perfect fit at 25 for the Blackhawks. He had 4 brothers. One of them got drafted in the 3rd round to the Red Wings way back when, Andre Nestrasil. I think that this guy has just grown around the rink. He was skating when he was like 6 months old. He played for the USHL last year, got a taste, had 8 games, but 0 points. He had no idea what he was doing out there. This year, he absolutely went off, and he helped them win a championship. I think that when you see this guy's upside, there's a case for easily top 6. I think that at worst, he's a third-line player if he makes it to the NHL, and he's just going to bring size, physicality, scoring ability. His production is really good for him not really knowing what he's doing. The hockey IQ is there. It's just he doesn't really understand like what he's supposed to do when he's out there, but he's a smart hockey player. So like he has all the tools. His hands are fantastic. He's always trying to get to the center of the ice. I think that this guy will probably be a winger for 8 to 10 years in the NHL. He just needs a crack, and I think he already has NHL size, like 6'6", and he's still growing. I don't know how much more he's going to grow, but this guy is just so upside to me. And when you already have all of those picks, like Flyers do, they have I think they had 6 they had 7 before the Zegras trade, but now they have 6 in the top 50. That's just an absurd amount. So yeah, take this guy.
Yeah. So Peter, he snuck into the first round. I know you had him as a guy that
big fan,
could jump into the first. Yeah. So there you go. He's there, at least in our mock. All right, Dayton, 32nd, last pick of the first round. Calgary Flames getting their second first-round pick in this draft. Who are they going with? This would have been the Florida Panthers pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I thought I'd reach out to my brother-in-law, who is a big Calgary Flames fan, lives just outside of the city, and I was curious what he thought was the top priority heading into the draft. And he said centers. And looking at their depth chart, yes, the Flames need centers. They've got 2 very old guys up front in Kadri and Backlund. And beyond that, not a lot. Morgan Frost is the next guy, and then it's a little bit thin. So if you can add a couple of really strong centers for the first round, that's, I think, the Flames' target. Now, there's one guy who I think fits the Flames really well. Slip of the tongue there. I'm used to talking about Ottawa. And he's a guy that I would imagine Craig Conroy's pretty familiar with because he played with his dad and played with him in that fantastic 2004 Stanley Cup run. And in that run, this guy put up 11 points in 26 games for 4th on the team. That's, of course, Marcus Nielsen. And so why don't we add his son, Eric Nielsen, with the last pick of the first round? He has been one of my favorite Swedes to watch this year outside of the top 2 guys. He can catch guys unaware with his speed, and that leads to turnovers, scoring chances. He's really, really dangerous on the offensive rush and the push. He has some really great skating, a potential to be a real strong play driver. There is a lot of rawness to his game. Obviously, you're picking him 32nd overall. You're not getting a polished prospect, but there's a lot of upside here. And I think, he is 6 foot right now. He could grow. His dad was 6'2", or is 6'2". He's still around. But big, solid players. They're very effective. I would think that would just be a perfect match for them.
I like that pick too. And I'm hoping that he's around where the Canucks pick in the second round, because he's Swedish. So, I mean, he's a guy that could definitely be on their radar. But yeah, the Flames definitely need centers, and he would really fit, I think, with the team too, being a really good 2-way guy. 32nd overall would be he could sneak into the first round too. I don't think we mentioned him as a guy that could jump in there, but yeah, I think for sure be a possibility. Okay, well, there's our first round. As you can see there, lots of great names still available. So we're just going to go around the horn just quickly to end the show. And Anthony, I'll start with you. And who's your number 1 guy that's still not taken that you believe could go on day 2 really early?
Milton Gastrin, Shane Van Sage. I mean, there's a load of names here. Yeah. Like Boumediene. There's a lot of names, so that could go. I feel like from the 26th to the 40th pick, it's all the same batch of players, so you can just interchange any of them.
Yeah, there's some great guys. Dayton, who's your number 1 guy that you're really looking at as being an early day 2 pick?
Boumediene is my top guy. On my list, I had him 21st. I think he is a fantastic talent who has a lot of room to grow still. He was excellent as the youngest player in the NCAA this season. And I think personally, I think he is a lock for the first round. So I'm surprised that none of us ended up taking him. I'm also partly to blame with that, but that's okay. There's other guys. There's like you said, it's so close with this kind of 26 to 40 range. But he is somebody who I think plays like a first round talent.
For sure. Lucas, what about you for top guys left?
Someone that I like that I think would go in this specific mock that I think would go pretty early in the second round is Jack Nesbitt of Windsor Spitfires. I did his prospect profile. I really liked him. I thought he was a really, really strong centerman. I liked what I saw from him. There are players who talked about him as, you know, a very, very underrated prospect in this draft. So I see him going very quickly in this second round of this mock draft, and I'm somewhat surprised that no one took him in this first round.
Justin, what about you? And I'll throw an extra question for you. What do you like those 3 first round picks for the Flyers? Because you didn't pick any of them. So just by way of the randomizer, you did not get any of the Flyers picks.
I would have picked Desnoyers at 6 personally, but other than that, I love Kindel. The Flyers, I don't think they would ever take him, even though I like him a lot. But that's besides the point. My number one guy, and I'm not surprised that he didn't get taken here. I guess I'm higher on him than most people. Riker Lee, I think, is a very interesting player out of the USHL. I have him ranked 25th on my personal board. Boumediene is another guy we mentioned. I have him ranked 28th. 2 guys that I think kind of deserve first-round recognition. I'm not sure that they'll get it, specifically Riker Lee. There are some things to work on with him, but I like the upside of both players. And Boumediene is a guy I looked at very early in this year's draft process that I liked. And he just kind of slipped down, partially because of performance, I suppose, but also because other guys just rose up. I still love the upside there. So I would be content with picking them early in the second round.
For sure. I think Boumediene has definitely could sneak into the first round too. And maybe even the Flames pick him there. Because I think defense is another thing that they need. And now that Rasmus Andersson could potentially be traded, they need a guy. They need some guys to kind of step in for sure. All right, Peter, finishing with you. Anyone that you're really maybe surprised that didn't go in the first round that would go early on in day 2?
I mean, all the names mentioned, Vansagi, Boumediene, Lee, Nesbitt, all fantastic options. I would have said the same things. But I do have 2 in mind. One, William Horkoff. He did test very, very well at the Combine. I wonder if there's a team that's going to take a swing at him in that 29 to 32 range. Who doesn't love the strength? Who doesn't love the commitment? And when he was giving his answers about his commitment and everything that he learned from his dad, I think this is going to sit well with a lot of teams. And the other wild card for me is going to be Jakob Wozniak, a potential top 13, top 15 pick heading into the season. He had it all. He had the production. He has the skill. He has the size. It's just a consistency factor sometimes where, like, you know, it's shift to shift, game to game, where it's not there and it's not as evident as it is. And if he could just get it together, he would 100% be a first round pick. He was a first rounder for me because of that late season surge, because of his play at the U18s. But I still do have some questions that if he does fall out, it's because of that. But if he's in the first round, it's because of that high-end skill set and playmaking abilities and shot that he has.
Yeah, lots of great names still on the board after our first round, and we'll see if we get any picks right. I think we'll get the top 2 for sure, 100%. The rest we'll have to see. But yeah, lots of fun still to come. But thanks everyone for coming on and doing our first round mock. Thanks so much to Anthony. Thanks for coming on, for taking over one of the spots, because most years we don't have any guests on, so it's great to have a new face in here. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it was an honor to mock draft with you guys, so thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, well, make sure to check out everything at thehockeybears.com. We've got our draft guide live with over 150
157.
Yeah, so we're up there. We got lots of stuff to take a look at. So give all that a read if you haven't already. You probably should have already because it's been live for a long time. So take a look at it. And of course, all of our other coverage, all of our other videos that we've got on the YouTube channel, and all the other content we've got on the site. And of course, our Substack newsletters as well. Lots of team content, draft content, prospects, news and rumors, all that fun stuff that's in those newsletters. So take a look at that and subscribe if you haven't already there. But until our next mock draft, next episode, well, to be done. We're not doing any more mocks for this year's draft. Our next one will be the 2026, which won't be very, very soon. It'll come really quick. But the draft is in a few days. So make sure to take out all the stuff we're going to have on draft day as well. We'll be live where all of our stuff during the draft as well. So until our next one, we'll see you next time.